Welcome to Credo Podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs and line managers seeking opportunities to grow their sales organization.
I'm Thomas Zartlo, CEO of CredoPod, one of Germany's largest independent contract sales organizations for the healthcare industry. Thank you for having me. If you like the Credo Podcast, feel invited to subscribe and like. We're now present on several podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast. In case you would like to provide some feedback or suggest a topic for upcoming episodes, send an email to info@credopod.de. And here we go with our today's topic, the joke that is too real for laughing. A man dies. And when arriving at Heaven's Gate, he is welcomed with the following words. In accordance with our total customer satisfaction policy, we would like you to offer the following. Initially, you will spend 1 week at hell, followed by a week in heaven. This way you can make a well-educated decision about where to spend eternity. The man starts with hell and it's just awesome! His favorite football team wins every match. He finds himself surrounded by brilliant hats. He's young again and better looking than ever in life. The second week, he visits heaven. All very nice. Smooth music, polite and friendly people, and the food is okay. But it is not as half as exciting as his stay at hell. So it does not come as a surprise that once the second week has come to an end and he is asked where he would like to go, he yells, "At hell, at hell, at waboom!" Immediately he is transferred to hell. But what is this? Where have all the great people gone? What happened to the parties? And why on earth is he finding himself with a bone sticking in his head, which, besides hurting a lot, makes him look like an idiot? In bravery, he is shouting for the manager. When the devil finally arrives, he complains to him. "What is all this? A week ago, this place looked completely different." The devil smiles and answers, "A week ago, you were a prospect. Now, you are a customer." Working in sales, one never knows whether to laugh or to cry when hearing this joke. The reaction is located elsewhere between laughter, desperation, and not understanding the punchline at all. Those who laugh are the salespersons who mostly have given up on their clients. Desperation is a signal of knowing what this all is about and still trying to fight it. A missing understanding is predominantly shown by those who never encountered a similar situation with their clients. Let's find out what distinguishes the three groups. The ones who have given up are primarily engaged with organizations acting similar to the hell management. The client is promised a happy wonderland. Whatever he asks for is confirmed, although it is clear right from the start that this never will happen. And expectations are raised to a surreal level. As a CSO client, you know these organizations. They claim to have the right people at the bench, that the reporting will be accurate and punctual at any time you want it, and they do not leave any space for doubt that the presented pricing is the best in the world, as long as you ignore the contractual small print. The desperate are pretty aware of the absurdity of these promises. Still, because they are afraid of not being rewarded with the business, they nonetheless are howling with the wolves while trying their very best to make it somehow right behind the curtain. This means that the client still will find himself with a bone through his head, but it is made from gold. Those not relating to the punchline at all can be split into two groups. The first one are those who simply do not care and have no idea what happens once the contract has been signed. They are working for organizations where sales and operation are completely separated from each other. Once the sales took place, they move away to the next prospect and leave it to their colleagues to handle the contract. And while as a client, one always will hear, "If there is anything, please do not hesitate to call me," in reality, the salesperson cannot do anything about the client's problem. He is a high-cost resource that, by default, should not be involved in operations. If something is not working out, these organizations tend to fire the operational staff as they see them as easier to replace than a successful salesperson. The second ones are the lucky ones, working for companies that encourage their staff to remain realistic when engaging with clients, even at the cost of losing a contract. They are not hired for telling the client what he wants to hear, but how it is. Of course, also in this type of companies, things can get messed up, but by coordinating sales and operations and having them working closely together as one entity, they avoid many issues and solve problems fast. As a client, it is essential for you to find out as fast and precisely as possible which of the described 4 sales tribes you are dealing with. The laughing ones are identified easily by assessing the level of resistance and creativity. Is it that the answer to any request is always a "yes, of course"? Does the salesperson make any proposals? Are you asked for further background information concerning your stated need? Did you hear at any time something like, "Oh, I'm unsure, this could become tricky"? If so, great. The next step is to assess if you're dealing with a desperate one. Ask about the processes implemented to ensure high quality in delivery. If the response misses mentioning a well-structured approach, proposing KPIs and a clearly designed reporting line, you might deal with a desperate one. You will also easily spot those salespersons who simply do not care for the outcome by asking the above. These people mostly fail to pass the first filter, but will undoubtedly struggle to get through the second one. All this is futile, though, if the client does not care for the outcome too. As a subscriber of our podcast, you most probably do not belong to this group. Still, it should not remain unmentioned. Through my own experience, I lamentably witnessed the following far too often. There are clients working really hard for being sent to hell. Instead of discussing the service, it is all about pricing and timelines, while refusing to speak about the conditions determining the realization of the set objective. Once the vendor dares to state that the expected timeline or price will make it hard, if not impossible, to realize a project, these clients answer with a simple, "Well, your competition did not seem to have any issue with our request." Asked if they are aware of how another vendor would like to make pigs fly, they tend to answer with a simple, "Well, can you do it or not?" Motivated, better to say forced, by massive cost pressure, short planning time, and encouraged by a tough competition between several vendors, it is understandable why clients might react in the described manner. The answer to this needs to be, "I'm sorry, no. From my point of view, promising this is not sincere, so I will not provide you an unconditioned confirmation." If 2 vendors state a simple, "Yes, of course we can do it," and a third shows up and expresses concerns, it seems legit to assume that the last one is simply incapable or would like to get more money out of the project. In the end, purchasing services always relies on the faith that the vendor will do how promised. Why should one believe the guy telling that the request is unrealistic if all the others state the exact opposite? Well, this brings us back to asking the questions about performance measurement and observing the salesperson's reaction to the stated requests. In our episodes 2 about master vendor contracts, 4 about contractual traps, and 12 about selecting the best fitting vendor, we already discussed the most critical points for choosing a vendor carefully. You might like to download those episodes for further information. Your today's takeaways. If something sounds too good for being true, it is most of the time simply not valid. While it might be innovating to answer wise guys' questions from a salesperson, it seems better to accept this than to find oneself stuck with a failed project or a bone through the hat. Do not miss asking the questions mentioned before to spot toxic sales techniques. When you too would like to experience what "we do this for you" signifies for you and your organization, contact us by phone on +49 for Germany 6102 375 3440 or click on www.credopod-solutions.de. Like and subscribe to our podcast for receiving your weekly update. Credo Podcast is available on Apple Podcast, TuneIn, Spotify and other major platforms. Suppose you would like to suggest a topic or provide feedback, please send an email to info@credopod.de. Our next week's topic: why free webinars suck. In the meantime, I wish you all the success you doubtlessly deserve. Stay healthy and remember, Credopod, we do this for you.